Hello and welcome to Ring the Bell podcast number 29. I'm here with my co-host Nathan. How are you, buddy?
I'm all right, mate. Nice to hear from you.
Yeah, it's been a while, couple of months since we've been on the channel, but just come back to talk about some of the stuff that's gone on, some of the recent fight cards, and some of the stuff that's happening in the future, and also some of the stuff that's happening in the backgrounds, because a lot of stuff's going on in boxing at the moment, and not all of it's in the ring. And so it's just going to be interesting to catch up on some of that stuff. Where did you want to start, mate?
You've got the list in front of you, haven't you?
Yeah, so I see it actually. Cheeseman
Do you want
card.
me to, I was going to ask your opinion
Yeah,
on
go for it.
Manuel Char being given the belt back.
I need to read into it more. So he won a legal issue where it turns out he didn't fail the drugs test or something. So I need
That's
to
correct,
read it.
yeah.
I need to read in. Is it a loophole or did he just genuinely not?
It was a legal loophole from what I could see, from what I read up on it.
Okay, yeah. I need to read more into it, but I don't like it. If it's just a loophole that he's sort of got around, then yeah, I don't really think that's good for the sport to give him the belt back. But I need to read into it more before I give a definite opinion on that. Either way.
Should we start with Prince Patel?
All right, yeah, let's start with Prince Patel. I didn't actually see this fight, to be fair.
No,
okay, so we're just talking about the news. He is now the WBF World Champion.
WBU as well. GGBU.
And the W. So he's unified, is he?
Yeah, UBO or something.
Wow. So he really is. Where is he? Is he still fighting in Austria or Hungary?
Hungary. He's been fighting there for the last year and a half. He's had 14 fights in like a year or something, so he's always fighting. But the quality of the opposition has been dreadful. And there's no footage of it anywhere. I can't find any footage of any of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this guy he beat was 41-17, and he beat him in a pub. Morrison's Pub, Budapest. I'm not even joking. He won 2 world titles, vacant world titles, in a pub in Budapest. Now, at least that's a story to tell your grandkids. But I mean, in terms of boxing, it leaves a lot to be desired, doesn't it? So yeah, we'll have to see where Prince Patel goes.
Any British promoters will touch him, because I don't think they will they? Nobody will touch him.
I think if he keeps winning, he'll get himself into like a mandatory position, and they'll have to give him the fight. But I don't know.
Number 5 in the WBO, fighting bums, and it's crazy, isn't it?
He's ranked He's only ranked number 5 in the whole of the UK on BoxRec. So you've got
number 5 in WBO.
You've got Ryan Burnett, Jamie McDonnell, Paul Butler, Ukashir Farouk, who's 11-0, and then Prince Patel, and then you've even got Lee McGregor under Prince Patel, who's 5-0, and I think Lee McGregor would smash Prince Patel up pretty badly. Yeah, so
it's crazy how he's got such a high world ranking fighting in a country. I mean, he's even the bantamweight Hungarian champion.
That's fucking hilarious.
Isn't it?
Yeah, especially because he's from Blackburn and he lives in Acton in London, and he fights in Budapest. It's bizarre, but
it's weird, isn't it?
I mean, to be fair to you though, like it might be his only route to getting a world title shot. Yeah, so if he manages it, then fair play to him. But I don't think he'll win it.
Getting lower purses than if he was fighting England. He must be earning like a fat £500 a fight or something.
I don't know, probably a bit more than that, but not a lot more than that. Yeah, but then if you're fighting like 14 times in a year, that's not that bad. Like, I suppose it's a weird way of making money, but
he probably would have only made about 20 grand this year, wouldn't he, from fighting? Really?
I assume so. Yeah. I
Crazy,
assume so. But I mean, if he gets a world title shot, he can make a good bit of money in that. So fair play to him. I want to see him come back to the UK and fight someone that's at least British level, because I think he'd lose. That's the truth of it.
He
That's the
wouldn't win a
sad
British
truth.
title. Not at
Yeah,
all.
that's the sad truth of it.
Anyway, we should probably move
So
on.
yeah, I only want to give Prince Patel so much time. Let's talk about the Cheeseman card, because I watched most of that. Let's start. Did you see the live stream on Facebook?
I saw a bit of it. I saw most of the fight, 4 or 5. I saw the Lawrence Coley fight. The guy
Right.
was dreadful.
Yeah, Thomas Lodi, Tamas Lodi. It was for the WBA Continental Cruiserweight title, and it makes you wonder. Like,
He'd already won the belt.
I can understand. Yeah, I can understand how a 10-0 guy can get a shot at that belt, but how does a 20-11 guy get a shot at that belt? I don't understand it. So yeah, not great, not great. Scott Fitzgerald won a very easy fight against terrible opposition. Not really any point talking about that too much.
You see, within the first 50 seconds, he spat his gum shield out and there was blood everywhere.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah. He obviously punches hard, Scott Fitzgerald, because you can't cause blood that quickly if you don't punch hard. But that was terrible opposition. Did you see the Craig Richards destruction of Jake Bull?
I saw the highlights package, which is about 50 seconds on, because the fight was only 50 seconds long, wasn't it? Was it 3 rounds?
Yeah, it was a 3-rounder, but it was basically only 50 seconds. There wasn't a lot of highlights. Jake Bull got knocked down quite a lot, like 3 or 4 times. Good knockdowns, but he looked like he just didn't have his balance.
But wasn't it an upset, really? Yeah.
I suppose it was an upset, but Craig Richards is... they both only had 1 loss, and it was quite a 50-50, I think. But really, Jake Bull was the WBA Continental Light Heavyweight, so a nothing WBA belt, really.
Richards is a good fighter. You know, I mean, he proved it against Buglioni in his last time.
Yeah, Craig Richards is looking good, but I tell you what, though, Jake Bull just looked like he didn't have any balance, and he looked like as soon as he got hit, he was going down. It's very odd. A similar performance to... Do you remember when he fought JJ McDonough and lost?
I do, yeah.
It was a similar Jake Bull. Just sort of didn't look like he... I don't know, just something wasn't right in his performance, and I think he'll come again. It's a bad loss, but he'll come again. Craig Richards moves on.
A step up in opposition for Jake Bull, wasn't it, to be fair? Yeah.
It was, and it was and it wasn't. Like, he's fought that level, but he hasn't looked great. So the best fight he had before, really, was Miles Shinkwin. And maybe you could argue Joe Sheriff as well. And I'd say it was an upset, but Jake Bull looked like he could always be knocked out after that JJ McDonough fight. So it's not too shocking or anything. But very good performance from Craig Richards. I want to see him fight Hosea Burton next. That'd be a great fight.
Can I skip back to Lawrence Coley just very briefly?
Yeah, go for it.
Bloody Comancho, who is the Commonwealth Cruiserweight Champion, believe it or not, was standing in the ring with him. I think they're going to fight.
Yeah, I've heard that's done. I've heard that fight signed. It's quite shocking, but I think it's a good fight. I mean, Wadi Camacho obviously had a few losses, but he went away and rebuilt, and he got good wins.
Pretty quickly, I think. 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah, I think it's probably a very
easy,
comfortable routine win for a Coley, but it's a good name and a good belt to have by your 11th fight. Being the British and the Commonwealth champion by the 11th fight is very...
The guy that's already lost to Comancho, who was already beaten Comancho. Isaac Chamberlain beat Kate Shofton.
Yeah, you're right. But it's not a bad fight because of the belt. I think that's what makes it interesting. But yeah.
Well,
Felix Cash versus Rashid Abalaji. Did you catch that?
I watched the highlights package because the fight was only 60 seconds long. So yeah, I was impressed.
Yeah, Felix Cash is a good fighter, but he's 10-0 now, and he's got to start fighting guys who are at
But
least
how the guy
known.
got a Commonwealth shot when he's not even that good? He was a pretty dreadful fighter, that guy.
That's what I mean. How are these a 20-11 guy getting a shot at the Continental Cruiserweight title, and an 11-4 guy getting a Commonwealth shot? Some of them are a bit odd, that is for sure. And then we have the main event, Sergio Garcia versus Ted Cheeseman. And now, this was a sad fight for Ted Cheeseman. It was a step up too soon. It was a step up too soon and a bad performance. If he'd have performed at his best, he might have at least won 6 or 7 rounds. But hands were low, no head movement. It was sloppy from Ted Cheeseman, and Sergio Garcia punished him and won a very deserved unanimous decision victory. Now, one of the scorecards had Ted Cheeseman losing only by 1 round. Yeah, 115, 114, but it was a really wide fight, so at least they had the right guy winning, but that's a terrible, terrible scorecard that shouldn't...
For me, I saw the criticism he's had. People said, oh, he's this and he's that, and I'm thinking he's 23 years old. Some of the best fighters have lost.
Yeah, there's absolutely no shame in stepping up to the level and finding out you're not good enough yet. You just have to go back, rebuild at British level, and come back. There's no tough loss here for Cheeseman. It's a good learning fight.
Great fighter.
He's a good fighter. I expect him to easily go on and get a European title at some point. I don't know if he'll go on to world level.
It was silly of Eddie Hearn to step in that quickly. I really did think it was ill-advised. It really, when looking at it.
I suppose so, but that's hindsight is 2020. He's had that other mistake with with Ritson, and then also, I mean, you can't really argue about this one. Like it can happen to anyone. Bradley Skeet went over to Spain and got destroyed for a European title as well, and you can't say he wasn't ready. He was definitely ready to step up. He'd fought everyone at British level, and you can still step up and be found wanting. So there's no shame in it. I think he'll come again, like you say, and he's very young.
Then I would have said that's it.
Yeah. But it wasn't. You don't want to have too many of those losses where you take a lot of punches. But at least he didn't get stopped. He didn't get knocked out. It wasn't too damaging to his future career. So. Yeah, good luck to Cheeseman in the future, really.
In my estimation, his stock can probably rise because of this defeat, I think, in a way. Because, it's opened the door. People know who he is now,
Sure, and what's interesting is he's still British champion, so he could still get the Anthony Fowler fight, the Scott the Scott Fitzgerald fight as well. There's plenty of fights out there for him to make a comeback.
I'd probably keep him away from Anthony Fowler, because if he was to lose to him, that would be, devastating.
Problem is, he's the British champion, and if Anthony Fowler, Scott Fitzgerald winner becomes the mandatory, then he'll either have to drop the belt or fight the winner. So,
but for me, he's resilient enough, and he has enough determination in him to do it. Like look at Matthew Hatton. His career took some beats. He got a world title shot. I think he can be better than that. I think he can be a world class fighter. That's what I believe.
We'll have to wait and see. I think he can be a fringe world level fighter. I don't know if he'll ever be a top world level fighter, but we'll see. It wasn't terrible. There's plenty to go and improve on. But yeah.
Look at Clark Brook. It took years to build him into something good.
That's true. Let's move on to the Alvarez Kovalev card. Now, did you catch any of the other fights on this card?
The Richard Comney fight, which was over in the record.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, a crazy fight, really.
I don't think Comney would beat Luke Campbell.
No, I don't think so. I think it'd be a good fight, though. I think it'd be quite a an 8-4 or a 7-5 in Campbell's favour, so it wouldn't be a bad fight. Not that impressed with Comey myself, but obviously he's got power, so it's one of those
There's
things.
another who was fighting, who was a dreadful fight.
Yeah, 13-1, unheard of, absolutely. And so did you not catch the Oscar Valdez fight?
I did, yeah. It was brutal show. That body shot he finished him off with.
Yeah, Carmine, I can't pronounce that last name. Tomasoni, I guess. I guess it is. Yeah, it was a really easy defense of his title there, wasn't it? He's a good fighter, Oscar Valdez, but I want to see him fighting top level opposition every time. I mean, he had the fight against Scott Quigg, but let's be fair, Scott Quigg's not elite, is he, either? And so I rate Oscar Valdez, but I just think his opposition makes him look better than he is, and I want to see him.
I don't think he'd beat Josh Warren.
Well, it'd be a great fight, though. Based on his last few fights, I think it would be a great fight, but I think Warrington's probably got the edge on him. It's an interesting one. But well done to him on an easy defense of his title. Did you see Teofimo Lopez versus Diego Magdaleno?
I did. It was brutal.
That should have been stopped in round 3. I can't believe what the ref was doing. I'm actually kind of happy he got knocked out when he did, because if he hadn't have got knocked out when he did, he would have taken even more punishment. It would have been awful.
But what a knockout!
It was a good knockout, but at the same time, his defences had been bashed up by that point, and the knockout was coming, wasn't it? So good win, good performance, terrible refereeing, terrible corner work. He should have been pulled out.
Definitely, yeah. There was another fight I can't remember. What was it?
I will check. I've got the list up in front of me. Hang on a second. Patrick Day versus Ismail Iliev. Bakram Murtaziliev versus Evan Ayala. Jason Sanchez versus Daniel Alia. No, there wasn't really anything well known on there. But obviously, we're coming to the main event, which was Alvarez versus Kovalev, and I'll take your thoughts on this fight first, because
what was impressed me was Kovalev listened to his coach. He listened to what Buddy McGirt said. Don't use all his strength to wrestle. He kept his distance well. He moved out the way. He did the shots the way he's supposed to do it. He listened. He just outworked Alvarez, and Alvarez tried to do over top punch and he couldn't hit him.
Yeah, basically Alvarez was looking for a knockout punch all night and Kovalev was too smart for it this time. What was interesting to me was Alvarez looked a pretty poor version of himself. I don't think I don't know if he took Kovalev lightly this time round, because he beat him easily the first time, so he just didn't think about it. I don't really know, but I don't think that was the best Alvarez. And if it was the best Alvarez, then Kovalev was unlucky to lose the first time. And I don't really know what to make of it. I certainly wouldn't want to see a trilogy. I think Kovalev's a better fighter.
Kovalev was going to win, though. I didn't think he was at all.
I thought he probably would come back. I didn't think Alvarez was anything special. I think there's really only 3 guys in the light heavyweight division that are truly elite. You've got Kovalev, Beterbiev, and Bivol. And then Godsvik might be, but it's hard to know for sure. And so all of the other guys that challenge them aren't really up to the standard. Like, I was very surprised.
I mean, he could have a fight with Bivol. He could have a fight with Beterbiev. He could have a fight with
Godsvik. There's unifications all over the place. I think it's very likely that he will fight Bivol. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think he'd beat Bivol based on experience, and that's all it is.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Bivol's the easiest, not necessarily the easiest, but the least dangerous of the other champions, and therefore Kovalev might eye that as a good unification. Either way, a very good win for Kovalev to regain his title. Definitely fair, unanimous decision on the scorecards, and he moves on to bigger and better things. It was one of those shockers, kind of like a James DeHale losing to Caleb Truax and getting his belt back. Let's just hope Kovalev doesn't drop the belt and duck his mandatory challenger like James DeHale did.
What's his face is coming back. Ramirez is meant to be going up from super middleweight to light heavyweight.
Gilberto, yeah, that'd be a good fight.
But the thing is, if you're obviously if you own the belt in a big division below, you're automatically the mandatory, aren't you?
Only in the WBO.
No other place.
So, some of it, you get preferential treatment from all of the governing bodies, but it's only the WBO that you're automatically mandatory, and that's why Usyk really wanted that WBO. It's why he fought for the WBO belt, because he knew that when he moves up to heavyweight, he can get a mandatory shot, which is very smart.
It's all swings and roundabouts, isn't it? There is something we can skip to. What? Oh God, I'm losing my mind. Yeah, I mean, it swings and roundabouts. I think Kovalev should probably just retire, to be honest. You know, it might be, do you know what I mean? Have a couple more fights, then walk out, get away from the sport.
I think a big unification pay-per-view will set him up to retire, but
legal problems. This is where the Anthony Yard thing comes up, on which I've sent you. Right, basically, before we start, you know, Kovalev's got these legal problems. He got done for assault or whatever.
Yeah.
And he may have a court case. I think he's got a court case coming up in a month or so. He could be stripped of that belt at any time, couldn't he? Or have to vacate or whatever, you know. And because
not necessarily, it's very unlikely that it's very unlikely they'll strip him. But I don't think he'll go to jail. He'll probably have to pay a fine, maybe some community service. So I don't think he'll get.
But in the meantime, what could happen is obviously because Anthony Yard is the number one contender, but it hasn't been mandated yet. Because of Frank Warren's relationship with the WBO, it could be enough to get Anthony Yard an interim belt. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, but here's the thing, man. I think that that lawsuit's going to get thrown the fuck out. It's an $8 million lawsuit by someone who doesn't have any evidence of it, from what I see, and they made an accusation that would cost him loads of money right before a big fight. Like, why wouldn't they have just gone to the police with that when it happened? Why would they wait?
Of strict people for less. The video showing that the thing is, Frank Warren has a history of getting people like Nathan Cleverly, you know, making them pay for world champions. And I could see the same happening with York. That is the only way he will get in that ring and fight for that world title in it, when it won't be against Kovalev.
Brutalizing her and her dog.
Brutalizing? What?
That's what this woman said about Kovalev, that he brutalized her and her dog. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I mean, he's facing felony assault charges and being sued for $8 million. I mean, unless there's evidence of it, I don't see how they're going to convict him of it. Like, is there a picture? Was there an eyewitness?
Don't know what there was. I just read it in the same thing that you read. But anyway, moving on. What do you think about Anthony Yard being the ranked number one? Because I think it's quite horrific.
I think it's fucking hilarious. I mean, it just shows you. There's a great interview with Teddy Atlas and Joe Rogan where he talks about how in Europe the governing bodies, the WBO, the WBA, the IBF, they will go to a dinner party hosted by the promoter putting on the event that they are going to, right? Yeah. And so this just shows you how linked the WBO and Frank Warren are. That Anthony Yard, who is probably not the number one 175-pounder in the UK, is the #1 in the WBO. That's crazy. It's just crazy. Like Callum Johnson has fought for a world title. He's probably the #1 175 in the UK right now.
He'd destroy it. Yeah, he'd kill you.
Probably, yeah. I think that's fair to say. And so for Yard to be above him in the WBO when he's already fought for a world title is just fucking crazy to me. And when he fought for a world title, he almost won by knockout and then got knocked out himself. So it wasn't even he didn't even put on a bad performance. So clearly, there's something going on with. We all know it. I mean, I don't even need to say it. Frank Warren and the WBO are in bed. And Yard will get a shot at that WBO title at some point. As soon as it becomes vacant or there's someone easy to beat that gets it, Yard will get the shot.
But there's no way he's getting in that ring with Kovalev. Unless Kovalev dies in a plane crash tomorrow. That's the only way he will fight for that.
Here's the thing, right? I mean, that's very true, I suppose. But at the same time, if Kovalev ages another 2 or 3 years, and he looks like he's not, got the power he used to have or the speed he used to have, Frank Warren will immediately get Yard that fight. That's what he's waiting for with Yard, is a weak champion in that division.
Yard has basically won a regional WBO belt about 1.5 years ago, got him ranked in the top 15, beat that guy in 1 round. You probably remember it, Richard Barlow. Then, off the back of that, he hasn't even fought for a Commonwealth, a British or a European. He's bypassed European and British level, hasn't he? Basically.
Yes, and he's been made to look a bit stupid by Eddie Hearn at a couple of points, Frank Buglioni, Hosea Burton. He's been made to look like a duck because there have been many times that a British title has been called and he's pulled out of the purse bids or just not wanted to fight. And so it's not a good look for him at the moment. He's just fighting boring people.
It's a cash out. They're cashing him out because they know he's going to get his ass kicked when he gets in there as the top guy. So they're going to cash him out. They're going to make as much money as they can. And with him, that may be the only way to build him. So if he'd fought some of these British guys, there's no way he would have that ranking. And therefore, they've bypassed all the top talented fighters, haven't they, in England?
Well, it's a very smart move from Frank Warren, but I just don't think it will work in the long run because, like you say, if you get to a big fight, but all you've had is easy knockover jobs, when you get in the big fight, you're not going to win. It's that simple. So,
but his wins have been against blown-up super middleweights who were good about 6-7 years ago.
That's what I mean. He's not won a top level fight. And so he's not even really beaten. I suppose you could say he's beaten European level, but fringe European level. Yeah.
Commonwealth sort of level.
Yeah. No doubt.
Anyway, probably.
Yeah, we'll move on. So I see that there are some cards here for next week. Javonta Davis is fighting Hugo Ruiz. Erickson Lubin is fighting Isha Smith. I don't see any more good fights on that card, so I'll check the next one.
Let's see if there's any more news.
Ray Vargas is fighting Franklin Manzanilla. Alberto Machado is fighting Andro Cancio. Joseph Diaz is fighting Charles Huerta. That's a weird card. I'm not even really heard of anyone on that card. And then this is the card that you will know. Belfast, Northern Ireland. Paul Hyland Jr. versus Miroslav Serban. James Tennyson versus Gary Neal. That should be a good fight. Fergal McCory versus Carl Kelly. And basically just some other kind of nothing fights down the card as well.
Yeah, there is the Eubank card I wanted to discuss.
Yeah, we'll discuss that, yeah. I'll bring it up now. Eubank Jr. versus Hale.
Before we do, I've got something amusing to tell you. Charles Martin wants a rematch of Kaunaki and he wants a fight against Luis Ortiz. This was in the boxing scene.
You know what? I've got to stop caring what Charles Martin wants. What Charles Martin wants, Charles Martin can't have. He's fucking ridiculous. He's ridiculous. Kalnaki's good. I told you before. Kalnaki's punch stats are insane. Insane. He throws, and he looks so fat and unfit, but he throws the most punches of any heavyweight in a round. It's like, where does that even come from? It's crazy. Yeah, in a similar way, yeah. But I mean, I think Kalnaki's actually probably fatter, and it looks more stupid. It looks crazy. It's like, where's he getting this energy from? All of those cheeseburgers. Like, what's fueling this? But yeah, he's a madman. I don't think Charles Martin should rematch him. I think he'll get blown out just as fast, really.
But anyway, the Eubank DeGale Cup.
Yeah, so James DeHale, Chris Eubank Jr., obviously the biggest fight on the card, but my personal fight that I'm looking forward to the most is Joe Joyce versus Bermane Stiverne. Yeah, because it's Joe Joyce's first real, like, this is a guy who's had a world title. Sure, he's not the same Stiverne he used to be, but this is a good step up for Joe Joyce. If he wins this, you'd feel confident putting him in with any of the top 15 to, you know, like, not the top 5. Yeah, but exactly. So yeah, it's a great step up for Joe Joyce. Looking forward to that. Lee Selby in a comeback fight against a guy called Omar Douglas, 19-2, and it's at lightweight.
Is this a new? He's gone up for weight, has he?
Yeah, Selby. He's moved up to lightweight. Yeah.
He had to, didn't he? Really?
Yeah, he did for sure. But I think isn't lightweight like what was he before? He was featherweight, right? So yeah, it's interesting. It's a good idea because he was
super featherweight, wasn't he? Super featherweight. Yeah, Selby was a super featherweight.
It says on his box rec that he was a featherweight, but box recs are always slow and outdated. So yeah, it's probably old stats there. So yeah, it's interesting. He's moved up to lightweight. It should be good to see him back in the ring. I think he'll do well. Yeah, you first.
I just wanted to say, Stiverne's 40 years old. He's been inactive for the last year and a half. He got knocked down by Derek Rossi quite heavily 2 years ago and 3 years ago when he came back. And then he got blasted out around by Wilder. He actually, you know, apparently he looks in good shape. But I just think to myself, will we find out, will Joe Joyce be the next David Price? Or will he be the next, you know, like, world title challenger? Do you know what I mean?
Joe Joyce is too big to be and I don't mean tall. I just mean he's too big to be the next David Price. You probably couldn't knock Joe Joyce out if you hit him with a sledgehammer.
But he needs to win in style, doesn't he? Really, he needs to not. He needs to.
Here's the thing: Joe Joyce is probably never going to win in style, but he needs to win convincingly for sure, and I think he will. I think he'll put it. I think he'll put it on Stiverne early, and he'll get to him quite early.
So do you reckon it'll be over in 7, 8 rounds? Or do you think it'll be over before that?
4, 5, 6, something like that.
But Stiverne does have power, though. He still has power.
He does, but Joe Joyce is just a big motherfucker. I think you would have to be someone like Jarrell Miller to knock Joe Joyce out. Or Wilder might be able to do it, but even then I don't think so. Because you're talking about sheer mass and the amount of thickness of neck and head and shoulders that Joyce has. You have to hit him so hard to rock that head back, like in a meaningful way.
Stiverne was lucky he lucked out when he fought Ariola for the world title. You know, he was never that good in the first place. You know, he was decent, but he was never that good.
Yeah, that's a fair argument, but I still think it's a good step up for Joyce. It's an interesting fight, and
because Jarrell Miller's going to be fighting Anthony Joshua, do you think he could step into that WBA tournament thing?
Yeah, I think he probably could. The dogs are going absolutely nuts.
Well, they're not disturbing me.
Okay, it's just a bit crazy. Why no one's sort of stopping them or doing anything about it, I suppose. But it's Cambodia for you sometimes. No one gives a shit. Yeah. So, I mean, what were we just talking about? Sorry. Oh, yeah, Joyce and Stavern. Yeah, shit's wild, isn't it? I think it's a good fight. I think it's a good fight, and I'm looking forward to that the most on the card. De
Yeah,
Hale versus Eubank Jr.
good fight.
It's a good fight, but it's only a good fight because James De Hale is washed up, and no one knows
Yeah.
if he's got enough left. If it was James De Hale before the loss to Truax,
Mm.
everybody would pick De Hale as a big, big favourite, right?
I still think if De Gale's got any left, it's going to be too good for you, man.
I think so too. I'm leaning towards De Hale, but with a big but because he keeps saying how injury free and fit and fresh he is, but he said that every time, and then
And he looked
afterwards he moans about an injury.
Eubank
James,
would have been perhaps more convincing than that.
yes, possibly, very likely. I think so, but De Hale had just come back off the shoulder injury and lost, and then he came back off the shoulder injury probably too quickly again and only just won. And hopefully his shoulder's all right now, but you just don't know. And if his shoulder goes again,
Yeah.
he will lose to Chris Eubank. You can't afford to be fighting one-armed against Eubank Jr.
I
So
think Eubank Jr., if he wants to make a statement, he needs to win this fight. And he needs to win it convincingly. He needs to try and knock De Gale out.
it's more than that, man. If he loses to De Hale at this point in his career, it is over because I mean, it's not over. Like, he can still go and fight somewhere on ITV for an IBO championship, but this is for an IBO championship. Fucking
Yeah,
hell, Jesus. So I mean, if you lose the IBO, where'd you go from there? So, yeah, if he loses to De Hale, then he's lost to Saunders, De Hale, and Groves, and he kind of will be tarnished as a British level fighter. He will never.
Go back down to middleweight. He'd have more success at middleweight if he fought the right people.
He can. I don't think he can make weight. The problem for him was
for the vacant IBO middleweight though.
if you actually look at his body and his physique, when he was making 160, he used to have to take his boxers off, shave his hair, everything to get down to it. And if you look at him, he's very top heavy. And since he's moved up, his arms and shoulders are even bigger now. And I just don't think he could get down to 160 without making himself very sick.
What level would you say he really is? I'd say he's European, but probably just about.
He is, but if he keeps losing to British fighters, he's going to be seen as a British level fighter. That is the.
De Gale is a world level fighter, isn't he? You know, not a British level fighter.
He was a world level fighter. I think De Hale is far from a world level fighter now.
European.
Yeah. Yeah. I think. Look, the truth of it is, you're right. It's unfair, but if he keeps losing to British level, just British opponents. Yeah. He will be stuck at British level. Like, that's just the truth of it. And so,
would you imagine if Eubank had been given Groves' place? Oh, that would have been horrific.
I think there would have been a riot. This is something we actually need to discuss. Have you seen all of the problems with the WBSS, the World Boxing Super Series?
What's going on with that? I know they were going to go bankrupt or something like that.
Well, they were going to declare bankruptcy, and then Baranchek pulled out. And then the WBSS said, no, he hasn't pulled out. The fight with Josh Taylor is happening. And then his manager said, no, it's not. We have pulled out. Don't know what you're talking about. And so it looks like there's going to be a lot of legal disputes. Eddie Hearn basically said the guys in the tournament might be fucked because the contracts that WBSS have are very tight and very binding. And yet they don't have the money to pay the fighters, so it's going to be a really nasty legal issue. I think it's going to be drawn out for a long time.
That's crazy. Well, they streaming your product free on YouTube doesn't help, does it?
I don't think that's the issue. One of their investors pulled out, so one of the guys with the most money in the partnership took his money out of the partnership, and so they're just tight for cash. I think I actually think they'll pull through and still exist and still be a thing, but I don't think they'll ever try and do 3 weight classes in the same year again. I think basically Kalle Sauerland, he did too much cocaine last year, and he thought, yeah, we can definitely do 3 weight classes. I'll just sniff more cocaine and we'll get it done, but it's not worked.
Be every 2 years, every 2 or 3 years, this sort of tournament, rather than every year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
space it out every 2 years,
or at least every 18 months. I don't know. It's just something about it's not working. A lot of fighters are talking about pulling out. Eddie Hearn was talking about it a little bit. Now, obviously, he's friends with the Sauerlands, so he didn't want to be too critical, but he did not sound hopeful. He didn't sound like the prospects were good for the WBSS. He thinks that it's going to end in a long legal battle, and that's probably where it's going to go. So that's not good news for boxing. It's not good news for the guys who are signed to the tournament. It's bad news all round, really. So there's only a couple. Yeah.
Carry on.
Well, there's only a couple of things.
Carry on.
There's only a couple of things left. So it's Miller and Joshua. This has basically been leaked by everyone. It's like a secret that's not a secret now. It's not going to be in April. It's likely going to be in June, from what I hear. And it's going to be at Madison Square Gardens. Now, it's not a bad fight, but Anthony Joshua is still going to get a load of shit for this fight.
He'll beat him easily, I think.
I don't know. I think it's a good enough fight. Miller has as much chance as White or Ortiz does, I suppose. But really, the problem is the 2 guys, Wilder and Fury, they're in another fight, and if Fury wins, there'll be another rematch. So Joshua's kind of been kept out of the loop, kept out of the circle. And
that's his own fault, isn't it? Really, it's his own fault. Really,
I don't see how it's his own fault. Actually, I don't really see how. No, I mean it would be his own fault if he'd been really sort of rude or dismissive or didn't want the Wilder or Fury fight, but clearly he does want them. It's just Fury and Wilder jumped the gun there a little bit. Fair play to Fury and Wilder's teams, but it's kind of left AJ stranded. He can fight Ortiz, Miller, or White. They're the only really credible. Maybe Usyk. That's it. There's not a lot of options out there, and so whoever he fights, he's going to get shit. And I think that's harsh, but it's just the way boxing is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the problem is, I mean, these guys saying they want a 50-50 split, I mean, they need to dream on, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. If Wilder knocks out Tyson Fury, then he might deserve a 50-50 split. If Tyson Fury dominates Wilder on points, then he might deserve a 50-50 split. But at the moment, no. It's sort of 60-40 is fair, in my opinion.
I have to be honest, I don't think Joshua really wants to fight Fury. Or I don't think he really wants them fights, because they know Matchroom know he would lose to both of us. Right? That's what I think. Well, he would lose to Fury anyway. Probably not Wilder, but Fury. That's what I think.
He could have lost to Vladimir Klitschko. I mean, I don't think Matchroom think like that. I really don't. I don't think they're all that scared of who they take on. He could have lost to Klitschko. He could have lost to Parker. He's taken all of the toughest fights that were available to him at the time.
But should we be honest? Fury at 70% can nearly beat Wilder and make him look that silly. Then what's he going to do to Joshua?
Well, I don't know about that, because Joshua is a lot better than Wilder. I think Joshua styles make fights, and I think AJ versus Fury is a more technical matchup. But I think AJ obviously has the power, and Fury has the sort of speed and movement. But I think it's a closer fight. I think AJ Fury is probably the best matchup in boxing, bar none. And
I think Fury is a nightmare for Joshua. He's all wrong for Joshua. Right? That's what I think with the start.
I think Fury's all wrong for most people. I think he's all wrong for Joshua in certain ways, but if Joshua clips Tyson Fury, that could be all wrong for Fury too. I think AJ Fury's the best fight out there. Unlikely to happen next. Unlikely to happen soon. Wilder AJ's the next best fight in the heavyweight division, and I think that might happen if Wilder beats Fury. We might see Wilder AJ. If Fury beats Wilder, I'm not sure we see Fury AJ straight away, because I think you're right. I think the Matchroom team would be more willing to fight Wilder than they would Fury, for sure.
Dillian White, I mean, that's our next thing, isn't it? What was our next thing?
Yeah, we'll talk about Dillian White, for sure. He's revealed his comeback date, which is likely to be April the 20th at the O2, hopefully against Dominic Breazeale, maybe against Povetkin or Luis Ortiz. Any of those are quite good fights. I don't really want to see Povetkin. My personal preference is Breazeale or Ortiz. I think one of those two guys would be the best fight.
I can understand why White's not taking the fight. He wants to earn another 2 or 3 fights being a pay-per-view fight, doesn't he? You know, because if he loses to Joshua, that's probably over, isn't it?
Yes, I suppose so. I think he was fucking ridiculous in his demands as well, though, because Eddie Hearn didn't give him a good offer, but he said he wanted 50-50 of the rematch if he beats AJ. Now it's not ridiculous entirely, but it doesn't really work like that, because AJ's still the money draw. Even if AJ lost, the rematch, people would still be tuning in for AJ more. And so you really have to work it out on commercial value. And so these guys who think they're going to get 50-50 with AJ, they're just crazy. Like, you could argue the winner of Fury and Wilder rematch, they deserve 50-50, sure, but no one else does, because they haven't earned that yet. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how I see that. So hopefully the winner of Fury Wilder does get offered 50-50. That would be great. That would probably get the fight made, I think.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will have to, yeah. Let's talk about one last little thing. Conor Benn getting angry at Josh Kelly for making screw faces at him. Now, let's be real here. Conor Benn has no right even looking at Josh Kelly funny, let alone talking to him or talking about him. I mean, let's just be real. Josh Kelly knocks him out in a round.
Yeah. I mean, didn't he beat John Molina Jr. in his 5th fight or something stupid like that?
Yes. And Conor Benn got knocked out or knocked down by a journeyman with a 27% KO ratio. So we're talking worlds apart. Like worlds apart. Universes separate the levels that are different between Kelly and Benn, really.
I don't think Benn would even win a British title. Is that average?
I think with careful guiding he could, but I agree with you. If you were to throw him in against the best British champions or the best British 147s, he would lose.
I watched it, and did you? I don't know if you watched it at all.
I've got it up in front of me. It's 7 minutes long. I haven't seen it yet, but I will watch it because it's going to be funny as fuck.
Painful, because Conor Benn is so deluded.
Yeah, it's going to be funny.
And I'm thinking, shut up, stop talking. I was thinking, yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Do you think Conor Benn would even beat Bradley Skeet?
No, obviously not. I don't think he would. No. I don't think he'd be. He's not ready. I mean, he's still. Aren't they still building him after? Is he 20, 21?
He's young. He is young, and he didn't have an amateur career. And so when you are in that position, you need to know your role. You need to know your station. And it's okay calling out people who are like one level above you, or Yeah, but calling out someone who's an Olympian fucking
Hmm.
fighting world level challengers already, it's not smart. It's just not smart. So,
It's
I mean, if, yep,
Conor Ben's hard to like. I have to be honest. He's hard to like.
yep, he really is. He is. When he first came on the scene, he was quite humble, quite quiet, and he sort of, he was there watching and learning. But
Yeah.
now he's sort of got arrogant and egotistical, and he hasn't earned the right to yet. He's not beaten anyone good
He's
yet.
trying to be a
So
dad. Basically, that's what he's trying to do. His dad used to talk like that, but there's a big difference. Conor Ben,
yeah, his dad backed it up.
it's a slow build. I mean, within another 3 years, he may be a good fighter. But
Maybe.
I don't.
But like
But
you
maybe
say, you don't want to start talking faster than you can start fighting, because you'll talk yourself into a fight that you don't want. If Josh Kelly Conor Ben gets made, that
well,
it might even end Conor Ben's. I mean, how do you come back from such a like something that's so self-inflicted as well? Like, you didn't need to start this beef. There's no drama there. There's nothing there. Stop trying to generate something out
but
of nothing.
I'll tell you, I'll put it in a different. It'd be like Luke Campbell calling out Lomachenko, wouldn't it? You think, know your station. You're still,
To
where
be
Luke
honest
Campbell.
with you, that's less ridiculous, because at least Luke Campbell has been a world title
Oh
challenger.
yeah, and
So
he should.
it's more like Dave Allen calling out Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
That's what it's the equivalent of. It's just ridiculous.
What did you hear? What did you think about the card for what is it? Was it Dillian? Was it Lucas Brown against
Dave
Dave Allen?
Allen.
What card was that?
It's a while away, It's actually it's a scheduled fight, but it's for fucking ages away.
It's a dreadful matchmaker by Eddie. I don't think it's a good fight for Dave Allen. I really don't.
I think it's the right fight at the right time. I think Lucas Brown is done. I think
he'll beat Dave Allen. He'll beat Dave Allen.
No, I think Dave Allen will knock him out.
You really believe that? I just think he's fighting a former world champion.
Yeah, but I don't trust Lucas Brown. He's fighting a former world champion who beat up a fat, overweight, old Chagayev, and then failed 2 drugs tests in a row, and then did nothing. Got knocked out by Dillian White easily.
He's had 2 fights. I've watched 2 fights since his comeback. Have you, Julius
They've been
Long?
against terrible opponents, haven't they?
Yeah. They're 2 opponents that Dave Allen would have beaten.
Yes, he would have knocked them out just as easily. I think Lucas Brown's going night-night. I think his career's coming to an end against Dave Allen. Sadly so.
I want Dave Allen to win, but I've got to be honest. I think it's closer than what we think it's going to be.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's a one-sided walkover. I think Lucas Brown could knock Dave Allen out. I just think Dave Allen's fresher, younger. He's not suffered as many knockouts. I mean, that knockout to Dillian White that Lucas Brown took was fucking horrific. That can end a man's career. That kind of knockout.
Fight, it puts him in in line for some sort of big fight.
Sure. I mean, he would at that point he would move up into like the top 25 heavyweights in the world. So
you've got to be honest. Eddie Hearn has matched him very carefully, hasn't he? Since those losses he's had, very carefully.
In some ways, but I think that fight against the guy from London, who was that he knocked out?
The Argentinian guy.
No. The guy he knocked out from London. I always forget his name. Nick Webb. Yeah. That was a dangerous fight. Nick Webb was 12-0. I mean, Dave Allen went and lost to Tony Yoka as well. I mean, there's some stupidity in Dave Allen's career that's his own fault, really.
But Nick Webb recently lost to Kamil Solowski. Did you see that knockout?
I did see that he lost to Kamil Sokolowski. Yeah. But at the same time, I think, it is interesting. Nick Webb had never really been punched on the chin before. Maybe he's just chinny as fuck and Dave Allen got lucky. But Nick Webb had been doing all right up until that fight.
Another fighter who seems to be on the up, David Price.
Yeah, who's he fighting soon?
I'm not sure, but shouldn't he should have been fighting Dave Allen instead, shouldn't he? Really, that would have made
No,
more
he
sense.
didn't. He didn't. I don't think he wanted that fight. Because Dave Allen only wanted to fight Lucas Brown, and he said if he beats Lucas Brown, he wants to fight David Price.
But at this point, Dave Allen's now better than David Price, isn't it? Really, I'd say.
I would say it depends on what factor you're asking about. Is Dave Allen a better boxer? Probably
No.
not. Is he a better fighter? Yeah.
He's got more
heart.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. He's even when he doesn't train, he's got more stamina than David Price does. Let's leave it at that.
Okay. Well, anyway, we should.
Well, no, I was just going to say that same card, the next card David Price is fighting on is the 30th of March in Liverpool. He hasn't got an opponent yet, but on that same card, there are some good fights. Anthony Fowler is fighting Scott Fitzgerald. Liam Smith is fighting Sam Eggington. Now, that's an interesting ding-dong.
Oh,
I think that'd be a war. I think Liam Smith will win, but I think it will be a good war while it lasts. And then Joe Hughes is fighting Robbie Davis Jr. as the main event.
Liam Smith signing with Eddie Hearn, I think it's a good move at the right time.
Yeah, for sure. I think Liam Smith has been unfortunate in his defeats. I think, he had that crazy 2 fights with Liam Williams that were just bizarre as well. And
he's earned a lot of money. But the problem is, before we go, I'll mention Rocky Fielding after this. But the thing with Liam Smith is, I think he's good enough to beat Amir Khan and possibly Kell Brook.
I think the reason Eddie Hearn signed Liam Smith is for the Kell Brook fight. I think that's probably what's going to happen.
I can't see Kell Brook 100% winning that. I can't say 100% he would win that. I have to be honest. No, because the old Kell Brook would have won it easily, but not the Kell Brook now.
I agree. It's a different kettle of fish. Interesting though. Let's see how he looks against Eggington. Let's see what happens.
Being brought in as an opponent for the Stars, then basically.
I think he's been not necessarily an opponent for the Stars, but I think he's been brought in to fight Brook, maybe fight Khan. There's some other good fights out there. There's obviously Jarrett Hurd at 154. There's
Fawn could step up and fight him. That would be a good fight.
Yeah. For sure. There was one last thing I wanted to talk about. DAZN signed Soren Visai. Did you see that?
I did, yeah. It's a good signing. We know why this is happening. We know why
the Estrada and the Yafai fights. Yeah, for sure. It's very good work by Eddie Hearn and DAZN. And I mean, Estrada Rungbasai was one of the fights of the year last year, so I look forward to the rematch. So it's great.
He's the man to beat. He's the man to beat.
Yeah, he is in the division for sure.
Can I mention Rocky Fielding after we talked about this just very briefly?
Yep.
So, anyway, with Sung Rungbasai, obviously he'll have a unification fight with fight. That's the only reason they signed him, isn't it? Really?
Well, the Estrada fight is great too. So I think it's both. The Estrada fight for DAZN is huge for Mexican fans and getting subscribers. It's a very good idea.
So we'll go to Rocky Fielding. So with Rocky Fielding, where does he go now with his career? Obviously, after he's earned like £1 million, does he walk away or go back to Brixton?
I think he probably tries to get another run and get a European or world title shot. I think that's probably his goal. I don't see why he'd retire.
The actual next challenger for the WBA belt, middleweight, because obviously Thingy's going to vacate it. Canelo's going to vacate that belt. And then basically John Ryder is now the number 1 contender.
We think Canelo's going to vacate that belt. He might not. So if he fights Jacob, he's fighting Jacobs fairly soon, right? May 4th. if he immediately signs to fight, I don't know, Callum Smith at 168, he could keep the title, but we'll see. We'll see. He probably will drop it, but who knows?
But John Ryder is the #1 contender, so do you think John Ryder could be a fight against Rocky Fielding for the vacant belt? I could see that being made. It's an in-house fight, and it's easy to make.
It's not a terrible fight. I don't hate the idea of it, but I think unlikely. I think neither of Ryder or they're not big enough money draws to be Fielding and Ryder to be put.
Had to take that money, didn't he? He had no choice to take that money. Really.
Yeah,
really.
And he had to try. He had to try and beat Canelo. He's a lot bigger than Canelo, so he had a chance, but he just didn't have the skills, didn't have the strength.
But we all know he was always a British level fighter who happened to win a world title by fluke, because the guy who was in the fight was ill.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he could be European level. We haven't seen him fight that level. He could be.
What I'm saying is he could walk away from the sport happy, is what I'm basically saying, with what he's achieved.
It depends, man. He might have ambitions to make a lot more money. He might want a couple more big fights. Who knows? Whatever he does next, I think, unless it's a big fight, there's no point in him taking it. Because once you fought for a million or close, whatever it was, more than six figures, it's hard to go back to fighting for 100 grand again.
But he could easily drop down and fight. If he was to fight Eubank, he would lose. We all know that. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm basically saying. If he fought Eubank would clearly beat him, wouldn't he?
Don't know. I don't rate Eubank that much. I don't know about that.
DeGale would beat him.
Don't know. De Gale of old would have done. De Gale now, I think it'd be a close fight. I think that wouldn't be that far off a close fight.
Okay, I think we're done, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, man. We'll definitely come back next week to discuss some of the stuff. Actually, we might leave it next week. Let me just quickly look at Sky Sports Boxing. I don't think there's anything.
That will be the week we'll be back.
When is that actually?
That's the 23rd, Saturday the 23rd of February.
Yeah, we'll come back for that one. That's the next big thing. Did you see that? Just one last thing just before we leave. Chris Eubank Jr. shows off new £200,000 custom McLaren.
I did, yeah. I'm thinking, why?
It's very nice. It's a very nice car, but I hope he's investing in property and businesses, and I hope this isn't all he spends his money on, because that car won't be worth 200 grand pretty soon, and he'll feel like a twat if he's not done something smart with his money.
A house with that, he could have bought a house outright with that. That's what I would have done, and then bought a 20
create a new rental property. Do something that's going to keep you well fed after you finish boxing. But no, fair enough to him. Fair enough to him. Yeah.
50 grand, not 200 grand car, 50 grand car.
To be fair, as long as he's got his other money stowed away, he can spend some of it. I just hope that he is smart with the rest of his money. That's all I'll say.
He's worth over $1 million. No, he got a lot of money. He got about $1 million for that fight, didn't he? The Super Series.
He probably got more than $1 million, I imagine, because the semi-final, I reckon he got a bit more than that. Yeah, probably 1.5, maybe 2, something like that.
I don't understand why his next fight's a pay-per-view. To me, that's not a pay-per-view fight. If anywhere else, any other promoter wouldn't have that as a pay-per-view, would they? I mean, Eddie Hearn.
How much is it? How much is it?
I think it's about 15 quid.
Yeah, if it's 15 quid, that's not too bad. Oh no, it's 20 quid.
Yeah, I'm not paying for that.
No, it's not worth 20 quid. I think if they'd have gone with 15, it would have been worth it. But 20 is a bit much for that. I agree.
I think could you imagine if Eddie Hearn put that out as a pay-per-view, he'd be scolded.
I think as long as I think you could get away with doing it as a pay-per-view on Sky, because you would make the undercard very good. But on ITV, I think the undercard will be shit. the sad truth of it. I know we've got a couple of good fights. You've got the Stavern versus Joe Joyce fight, but other than that, there's not a lot on the card. Maybe let's have a look at the event. Yeah, Joyce versus Stavern, Lee Selby in a comeback fight. That's pretty much it. So, yeah, it's not worth the money.
For that, because obviously there's going to be more news. So mainly that show will be all news and a couple of cards.
Yeah, we will do. Cool. Well, we'll leave it there. And thanks for joining us on Ring the Bell. Please feel free to leave a like, subscribe, comment if you want. We'll try and reply in the comments, get back to you. And yeah, did you have any last thoughts, Nathan?
Thank you for everybody coming on the show. And we're sorry we don't post as much, but life takes over, as I say.
Yeah, I've got a baby coming in May, and so it's been hectic for me getting ready for that. But I'm slowly getting sorted, and I think I'll definitely be able to cover the big shows and hopefully get more routine back into doing it soon.
When we're off the air, can I briefly talk to you when we're off the air for 5 minutes?
Of course, man. I'll stop the broadcast now. Peace out, everyone.